Hello, welcome students. You are looking at a timepiece. There is something written on it, tempus. The meaning of tempus is time. In human body also there are some regions which tell about the time of the person or age of the person. Look at this picture. The hair above the ear are turning gray. This region of the body tells that person is getting older. This region is also known as temporal region. Let us look at this picture. Here you can see temporal bone in the same region, which is shown in light green colored area. This area is known as temporal fossa. Let us define the boundaries of temporal fossa. It is behind the lateral margin of orbit. It is above the zygomatic arch. It is lined by or limited by temporal lines here. Most of the temporal fossa is occupied by the muscle temporalis. There is one more fossa known as infratemporal fossa. In this picture, the tip of the finger which is probed is in infratemporal fossa. This is also known as infratemporal region. This region is behind the lateral part of the maxilla and zygomatic bone. It is medial to the ramus of the mandible and medial to the zygomatic arch, and it is lateral to part of the sphenoid bone which is known as pterygoid plates. We will see it later. And this infratemporal fossa or infratemporal region is completely occupied chiefly by muscles of mastication, mandibular nerve and its branches, and maxillary artery. This picture shows cranial fossa, and sphenoid bone is shown in more creamy color. Whole of this is sphenoid bone. It has different parts like body of the sphenoid here, greater wings of the sphenoid which are outlined in this picture, lesser wings of the sphenoid, one on this side, one on this side, and this is optic canal within lesser wing of the sphenoid, and it has pterygoid plates which is not visible in this view. Pterygoid plates are related inferior to sphenoid bone. We can see here pterygoid plates which are related inferior to the sphenoid bone. So this is posterior view, this is greater wing, body, and these are pterygoid plates. There are two pterygoid plates on either sides, medial and lateral. Let us look at muscles of mastication and temporomandibular joint in this session. After this session, you will be enabled to outline temporal and infratemporal regions, which we already did. You will be able to enumerate muscles of mastication. You can explain muscles of mastication in detail with respect to their origin, insertion, nerve supply and action. You can explain temporomandibular joint, and we will also enlist related applied anatomical aspects. To enumerate muscles of mastication, they are masseter, temporalis, medial pterygoid and lateral pterygoid. Four muscles on either side of the mandible. All these muscles are developing in first pharyngeal arch. The nerve of first pharyngeal arch is mandibular nerve. So all these muscles are supplied by mandibular nerve. Let us quickly look at related osteology of mandible in this slide. This is ramus of the mandible. This is body of the mandible. Ramus and body are meeting at the angle of the mandible. Upper part of the ramus has head of the mandible. This is neck. This is coronoid process. On the inner surface of the ramus, we find mandibular foramen, and it is covered by lingula, a tongue-like projection. Let us quickly look at the movements of temporomandibular joint, which moves mandible. Different movements are elevation, which is clenching the teeth or lifting the mandible up, depression, which is opening of the mouth, protrusion, which is projecting the chin forward, and reverse action, that is retraction. There is one more movement, which is side to side movement of chin. Let us look at muscles of mastication in detail. To begin with, masseter. This picture shows masseter in place at the side of the cheek. To tell the attachments of masseter, it takes origin from zygomatic arch, which is here, and even the undersurface of the zygomatic arch, and its insertion is on the lateral surface of the ramus of the mandible. Not only ramus of the mandible, even lateral surface of coronoid process. It has two different parts, superficial and deep. You can see them here, superficial part of the muscle and deep part of the muscle. Superficial fibers are running downwards and backwards towards the angle. Fibers of the deep part are running straight downwards. So the contraction of these fibers will definitely elevate the mandible, and also the superficial fibers which pull the angle little forwards because of the obliquity, they are also doing protraction of the mandible. Temporalis is a fan-shaped muscle. You can see here it occupies completely the temporal fossa, and this is medial side of the mandible. This is the section which is going through the middle of the mandible, and this is medial surface of the right half of the mandible. Temporalis is fan-shaped muscle. It takes origin from temporal fossa and fascia. You can see there is a cut end of the fascia. Temporalis muscle is covered by its own fascia, temporal fascia. The undersurface of the temporal fascia also gives origin to temporalis. All the fibers are running down and they pass to the infratemporal region, and they are inserting on the coronoid process. Most of them on the medial surface of the coronoid process here. You can see there are two different types of fibers with respect to their direction, anterior fibers and posterior fibers. We can appreciate here anterior fibers are running vertically down and posterior fibers are almost horizontal. Or this type of direction will give different actions. Anterior fibers will do elevation of the mandible, which will pull the coronoid process, which will clench the teeth. This is elevation. And posterior fibers will pull the coronoid process backward. During their contraction, they will retract the mandible when it is protruded. Now, lateral pterygoid. Lateral pterygoid is here. The fibers of lateral pterygoid are almost running backwards and laterally. They are inserting here on the neck of the mandible. So you can see it has two parts, upper part of the lateral pterygoid and lower part of the lateral pterygoid. It has two heads, upper head and lower head. This is a view after cutting the ramus of the mandible. This is the head of the mandible, neck is cut and ramus is completely removed, coronoid process is removed, zygomatic arch is cut, masseter and temporalis have been completely removed. So in this view, this is the muscle we find, that is lateral pterygoid. Let us look at its attachments. It has upper and lower heads. The upper head is taking origin from sphenoid, that is greater wing of the sphenoid, and the lower head is taking origin from lateral surface of the lateral pterygoid plate, and its insertion is on the front of the neck of the mandible, that is also known as fovea. And some of the anatomists have thought that its insertion is also extending into intra-articular disc, which we will see in a while when we learn temporomandibular joint. And this muscle is doing protraction and depression. So when these muscles are contracting on either sides that will pull the mandible forward, and that will do protraction, and it will also help in depression. Among the muscles of mastication, among these four muscles of mastication, this is the only depressor. All other muscles are elevators. And this is also known as key muscle of this region, infratemporal region, because this serves as a landmark to identify different parts of the maxillary artery and different structures. This is acting like a key muscle in regional anatomy. You can also see here there is one more muscle very much related to the inferior head of the lateral pterygoid. One part of the muscle is superficial to it and other part is here deep to it. So these are superficial and deep parts of medial pterygoid. So superficial and deep with respect to lateral pterygoid. That is how it is a key muscle here. Let us look at medial pterygoid now. So here it is after removal of the lateral pterygoid. We can see here again it is having two heads, superficial and deep heads of medial pterygoid. So superficial head is taking origin from maxilla, and medial, deep part is taking origin from the medial surface of the lateral pterygoid plate. So medial pterygoid plate is not coming in place here. Lateral surface is giving origin to lateral pterygoid, and medial surface of the lateral pterygoid plate is giving origin to medial pterygoid. And its insertion, it is going down and laterally it is inserting on the medial surface of the ramus of the mandible very near to the angle here. You can see this uh, muscle has the fibers which are in the same direction as the masseter was, that too superficial part of the masseter, which were running like this from zygomatic arch to outer surface of the ramus. So because of this, this is also having action of protraction along with the elevation, and alternate contraction of this sided left-sided and right-sided superficial part of the masseter and medial pterygoid will do side-to-side movements of mandible. That is, chin is moving from one side to one side, which happens in grinding movements. Now let us look at temporomandibular joint. This is a condylar variety of synovial joint. We can see here. So these are the articular surfaces, and we are having certain points under which we learn this. So these are what we are going to discuss on it. So articular surfaces, ligaments, movements and movement mechanics and neurovascular supply, and finally we will look at applied aspects. Coming to articular surfaces, this is undersurface of the skull. We can see here this is mandibular fossa, and this is articular tubercle, which is on the uh, temporal bone, undersurface of the temporal bone. This is the fossa which is giving pocket for the head of the mandible, and this is the head of the mandible. You can see here this is coronoid process, this is front wave, and this is the notch of the mandible. And head is almost horizontally elongated. The long axis is almost 2 centimeters horizontally, and vertical axis is, anteroposterior axis is 1 centimeter, which sits here. Head sits here. And articular surfaces are tympanic part. This is mandibular fossa and articular tubercle. Articular tubercle prevents the forward displacement of the mandible. So coming to ligaments, so we can see here joint capsule itself, which attaches the articular margins of the joint, and we can see this is lateral ligament, which is the strongest ligament of the temporomandibular joint, which covers on the lateral side. The fibers are running downwards and backward, and these are the true ligaments of the temporomandibular joint. And there is one more ligament. This is stylomandibular ligament. So joint capsule and lateral ligament. After that, stylomandibular ligament. Actually, this is part of deep cervical fascia. which is extending from styloid process to angle of the mandible, which actually separates submandibular gland and parotid gland. And one more ligament is there, that is phenomandibular ligament, which is not seen in this wave. If we go to medial side, we can appreciate this is view from medial side. Here we can see stylomandibular. Along with that, near to the lingula, this is a mandibular canal. Just above that, attached to the lingula, there is a fibrous band. This is phenomandibular ligament. Sphenomandibular ligament is developmentally, it is from first arch. It is remnant of Meckel's cartilage. And there is one more intra-articular fibrocartilaginous disc which can be seen inside the temporomandibular joint. That can also be considered as one of the ligament. So let us move on to mechanism of movements. So this picture shows sagittal section through the temporomandibular joint. This is superior articular surface. This is inferior articular surface, and we can see intra-articular fibrocartilaginous disc here, articular disc, which divides the joint cavity into upper and lower components. We can call this articular disc as meniscus, meniscotemporal compartment, which is above, and lower joint cavity, that is meniscomandibular compartment. So the movements happening in these two compartments are different, which can be seen here. You can see here, these are two different joint cavities separated by articular disc, fibrocartilaginous disc. When lateral pterygoid is pulling it, uh, in the upper compartment there is gliding movement. You can see here the fibrocartilaginous disc can move forward against the superior articular surface, but here head of the mandible can rotate to depress against this fibrocartilaginous disc. Gliding movement is happening in the upper compartment and rotatory movement is happening in the lower compartment. That is, protrusion is happening, or protrusion and retractions are happening in meniscotemporal compartment, and depression and elevation are happening in meniscomandibular compartment. Let us look at neurovascular supply. The nerve supply is by auriculotemporal nerve, which is here, which is branch of mandibular nerve, sensory division of mandibular nerve, and the blood supply is from branches of superficial temporal artery and branches of maxillary artery, which are terminal divisions of external carotid artery, and venous drainage is into pterygoid plexus of veins. To mention few applied anatomy of this region, this is dislocation of jaw. You can observe here the head of the mandible has been displaced out of the mandibular fossa. This is normal temporomandibular joint. You can see the disc here. So this is normal disc position in when jaw is closed. When jaw is opened, in the upper compartment, meniscotemporal compartment, disc moves forward. Along with disc, head of the mandible also moves forward. In some conditions, like disc displacement, you can see here disc has been pulled forward. Posteriorly, the discal tissue has been replaced by fibrofatty tissue, which is vascular. So in such conditions, whenever the disc is moving forward, the head of the mandible will uh, take a jump on the posterior free border of the disc. So in such movements, it produces a clicking sound. So it produces click during opening as well as in closing. So with reduction, that means joint can be reduced. It can be depressed and elevated. In extreme conditions, the head of the mandible cannot move forward. The jaw cannot be opened because of obstruction to the posterior thickened border of this disc. In such conditions, there is no click, but completely jaw is locked. Person cannot open the jaw without reduction. Joint again, it cannot be reduced or closed. In pathologies of temporomandibular joint, it can lead to severe headache as well because of the common nerve supply to the dura mater by this mandibular nerve or trigeminal nerve. Here we complete the session on muscles of mastication and temporomandibular joint. All the best to you.